Hello all, welcome to Public Cloud Design Tips and Tricks again. I will try to cover Azure security in different sessions. In subsequent session also we'll be taking more topics on Azure security. So today's problem statement is, or for few subsequent session, the problem statement will be what are the practices available in Azure cloud to secure the ecosystem. Now, before we jump into that, let's a little bit discuss more about what is security and why security. So, security in public cloud platform is more essential as it is a premise outside the organization. So, this that is the data center of the cloud vendor basically, and that is why you need security to be in place in your end-to-end value chain. Okay, it ensures platform applications, users, etc. who is responsible for what actually. So that is why you also need to design or ensure your security. Now there are six functional area that covers cloud security actually from a context perspective, and those are all applications, storage, networks, operations, compute, and identity. And in this today's session, I will be discussing more on the application security, and that happens in a public cloud environment basically. Okay. Now, before we jump into that again, let's a little bit of uh, light on the responsibility metrics. So whenever you or any organization they adopts public cloud basically, so there is always a responsibility metrics among you as an organization, then the vendor, uh, uh, public cloud vendor's responsibility, and there are few areas where both both of the parties, the organization and the public cloud vendor, has their own responsibilities. Okay, so that is how a responsibility matrix defines. I have taken this picture from Microsoft as a reference, but you can also have this responsibility matrix from other cloud vendor as well. Okay, so now if you see the metrics, there are different kind of services that actually works in a public cloud environment. So SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, and the other one is the on-prem data center. Okay, so that is where actually you have to define the metrics of responsibility. Now, this particular example is covering few dimensions on the blue actually, like where the responsibility will be applicable for, like information, data, devices, accounts, identity, applications, network controls, operating systems, hosts, physical network, data center. So these are the uh, area of interest where the responsibility matrix is defined here in this example. And then as a responsible party, there are three dimension of it. One is customer, another is both as a customer and a vendor, and the responsibility from the cloud vendor. So there are three parties involved here. Now, if you see the metrics actually on the SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, and on-prem area, then the light blue is Microsoft responsibility, the dark blue is customer responsibility, and the mixed one is the shared responsibility. Okay. For example, when it comes to applications, okay, then if you are operating in a SaaS environment, it is the cloud vendor's responsibility. If you are working on a PaaS model, it is a joint responsibility of the cloud vendor and the organization. And if you are using on a IS like environment, it is the customer's responsibility. Okay. For example, if you're working on a VM basically to deploy a replication, then VM hardening, VM patching, all these things are organizations or customers' responsibility. Okay. And on-prem is always is a customer's responsibility. Okay. So that is how you can segregate the responsibility. You can take other example as well. Okay. Now coming to the Azure security, and I have already mentioned that I will be covering application security in this session. So let's start with WAF. So WAF stands for Web Application Firewall. So WAF is an integrated component within Azure Application Gateway. Okay, so in one of the previous topic, we have already discussed what is an Azure Application Gateway. So Azure Application Gateway is a layer 7 load balancer that deals with routing the request to the backend services or the backend applications, you can say. So WAP comes within application gateway as an inbuilt component actually, and what it does, it provides a centralized protection capability of your web application against any common attacks or vulnerabilities. So that is where WAP comes into picture. Okay, and again, WAP is already based on Open Web Application Security Project, OWASP rule set. Okay, so this is a blueprint and it has its own rule set for the security attacks. Okay, or to protect the security attacks. So that WAP is based on that, and it is already found or it is seen from experience that most of the common attacks are SQL injection and cross-site scripting to a web application. So these are the two common attacks. Okay. Now, if you see the diagram, application gateway again connecting to different sites or different application, you can say, and WAP is always come within application gateway, and there is a user accessing in web applications. They may, the web application may expose to cross-site scripting attack or SQL injection attack. So that WAP rules, protect those kind of attack actually into the downstream applications or the web applications. Okay. Now there are few advantages of WAP is no modification of backend code required. Okay. When you are writing many backend applications, then WAP is the single centralized area where you can write all your rule sets to protect this kind of attack. So there is no backend change required. Now it's up to web applications attack can be prevented within a single gateway. So there is a little typo here. So up to 40 web applications. Okay, so that is the Microsoft data. So up to 40 web applications attack can be prevented within a single gateway. Now also you can write your own custom policy within WAF. So that also you can configure based on your own requirement. So that is all about WAF. Now coming to app service authentication and authorization. So in Microsoft there is a built-in easy auth capability. Okay, that those are applicable for app services as a PaaS service. So built-in easy auth capability are are inbuilt within Microsoft Azure platform. And if you are using that, basically, first of all, what it does actually, okay, so by using that easy auth kind of a proxy or a middleware, you can say, you can integrate to different providers, okay, authentication providers like Azure AD, which is Azure native identity provider, Facebook, Google, Twitter, etc. So that is the capability it brings with within Azure. Okay. So by using this, you do not have to do a lot of backend code change. Let's say if you are using a Facebook integration authentication, then you don't need to write, a lot of code to have that capability within your web applications. So you need to write a minimal backend code or no code basically. So that is what it is. Okay. Now, app service enables developers to integrate a variety of auth capabilities we already discussed to the web application, and it doesn't require any SDK or code writing or expertise to deal with this kind of authentication logic within your web application. So that all provides by EG actually within Microsoft platform. Now, what it does, it authenticates consumers with specified identity providers. We already discussed. It validates, stores, and refresh OAuth tokens. So that is the technique behind it to get the user authenticated based on the provider actually. And it also enables to inject those token from the provider in the HTTP headers for the downstream access basically. Okay, and it's also manage the session. So these are the capabilities it's provide. Now coming to the third type is layered security architecture. So what it means when we say layered security architecture, it's more about creating a security practice within the platform network basically, apart from the application security. Okay, so that is why app service and its traffic. So here I have taken example of app service, and its traffic can be protected using a layered security architecture. So now if you are Now, if you really want to understand what is a layered security architecture, let's go back to again the type of app service. So app service, normally for this example, I have taken two types: is app service environment and a VNet integrated app service. So what is a app service environment? App service environment is always comes with a network basically. So networking means it's your private area, and within that private area you can have a IP range defined, which is a subnet, and you can have a app service hosted within that zone basically, okay, or within that network boundary. So in a way, by doing this, you can always control the incoming traffic and outgoing traffic to the particular app service or the web applications. So that is one layer of extra security on a network level you are uh, giving to the app service, so that from where and from to where the traffic will go actually. So that is the layered security architecture in app service environment. And in a VNet integrated scenario, the app service is always on the Microsoft public side, but in that case, you are always attaching the traffic that is originating from that particular web application in a delegated subnets. Okay, so that delegated subnet will take care of like where to traffic go from this particular app service. Okay, so that is where you are also basically protecting the outbound traffic by doing this. Okay, so that is I have just given you two examples where I will tell you what is a layered security architecture. So layered security architecture is nothing but the network security group that is your handling to control the traffics to the app service or from the app service. Okay, so this is the example of layered security architecture. Now coming to the fourth one is diagnostics and application settings. So app service app provides a diagnostic settings for logging both from web servers and applications, and logically it's separated into web applications, web and application diagnostics. Now with the Azure monitor integrations, the logs also can be sent to different other services for analytical, or for audit capability. Can be a storage account, can be event ops, or can be log analytics workspace. Now, real-time state information about application tools, worker processes, sites, application domains, and running requests, that also can be captured. So, in a way, it provides you a complete traceability of end-to-end request chain. Okay, so that is what it deals with. Okay, so this is where you can always analyze the traffic that is the traffic or the log that is getting generated from your web and applications that you are hosting on Azure basically. Now, if you want to know more about it, you can always refer to this link, and I have extracted this link from the diagnostics and application settings from Microsoft Azure. So you can just go through it to get a bigger idea about this one. So there are four major things I have covered in the application security landscape, and in the subsequent sessions, then I will go to different other boundaries. I have already explained there are six boundaries that cover or that comes within cloud security basically. If you still want to know more about this, you can always refer to this link, security fundamentals link from Microsoft Azure, and you can go through it. Thank you and have a good day.